What's up everybody, I'm Hoops and Hip Hop, and welcome to a different sort of video. Now, every once in a while the Pokemon games will do something that honestly leave us as fans just shaking our heads and wondering what the heck Game Freak was thinking. Every once in a while, Game Freak will either do something or not do something in the Pokemon games that leave us as fans absolutely flabbergasted, and at the end of the day, these things are a real shame because they could actually be so much better than they ended up if Game Freak actually ended up going in the other direction. I have got 5 different topics to talk about today that are all huge shames and tragedies within the main series of Pokemon games that could have been so much better had Game Freak gone a different route with each particular topic. I'm going to be discussing why each thing is such a shame, how it could have been so much better if Game Freak had handled it differently, and why overall all of these are just a big case of what could have been. So if you guys are excited for the video, just kick back, relax, and get ready to listen to some of the biggest tragedies in Pokemon history. Okay, so this first one is a bit of a more recent event in Pokemon's history, and that would be Zygarde, or rather Zygarde's additional forms, being absolutely shoved and squished into Sun and Moon when they frankly did not belong there. Zygarde, as we all know, was a Generation 6 Pokemon, however, it went widely underused in the game in which it debuted and the region that it was native to. Fast forward a few years into Pokemon Sun and Moon, however, and Zygarde was given not 1, but 3 new forms in the form of its core form, its 10% form, and most importantly, its complete form. However, even though Zygarde was given all this new attention in Generation 7, it really did not have much to do about anything with the region or the plot of those games. And the reason why this is such a shame is because it's so obvious when looking at this situation that Zygarde and its additional forms were not originally intended to debut and feature in the 7th generation at all. Rather, it's very clear by looking at this scenario that Zygarde's additional forms were clearly meant to feature as the main part, or one of the main parts, of a third Kalos game, such as the hypothetical Pokemon Z that so many fans have speculated about over the years. I truly believe that Zygarde's additional forms are direct evidence that a quote-unquote Pokemon Z was in production at one point in time, but then was eventually scrapped, and to kind of save face and to make sure all of their work on Zygarde's forms didn't go to waste, they decided to shove it into Sun and Moon rather than scrapping it completely. We even saw in the X and Y anime where Zygarde's complete form did in fact feature in the story of the Kalos region, and I also believe this is another remnant of what was originally planned story-wise for Pokemon Z before they decided to scrap it and just continue on with Sun and Moon. I personally believe that them going with Sun and Moon over a Pokemon Z is the result of the fact that Sun and Moon came out on the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, so they kind of wanted to put all of their eggs into that basket instead of spreading them out over several different games, but we will truly never know at the end of the day, and ultimately it's a huge shame for Zygarde and for the Kalos region, because we could have had an amazing game if these things actually saw the light of day like they were originally intended to. Speaking of things that were cut from Generation 6 that are an absolute travesty, we have the Eternal Flower Floette that was programmed into Pokemon X and Y going completely unused. As you might already know, AZ's signature Pokemon, the Eternal Flower Floette, was actually programmed into X and Y as an obtainable Pokemon, and it even came with its own signature move, Light of Ruin. However, for whatever reason, this event Pokemon never saw the light of day, and an event where you could obtain it was never distributed or made public. I personally believe this was essentially cut out of X and Y for the same reasons that Zygarde was shoved last minute into Sun and Moon, and it all comes down to the fact that a Pokemon Z was planned but scrapped in favor of Sun and Moon, and so they didn't get to use or do a lot of the things that they planned for this third game. I personally believe that the Eternal Flower Floette would have featured more prominently in an altered version of X and Y's story for Pokemon Z, where you would eventually get to obtain it, and where this event would become available for the prior X and Y games, just so everyone can at least have a chance to get this unique Pokemon. This story would have also included the previously mentioned complete Zygarde events as well, and given all of this possibility, and at the very least, the fact that this was programmed completely into the games, but never saw the light of day at least to this point, is an absolute travesty just because of how cool the Eternal Flower Floette is, and once again, the potential it shows for what could have been a really cool third installment into the Kalos region. I mean, the Galar region in Pokemon Sword and Shield is pretty close to Kalos, so maybe we'll see some resolution there, but I'm certainly not getting my hopes up. Next up on the list comes from the earlier days of Pokemon, and that would be the Lightning Tiger Pokemon, Kotora and Raitora, not only being cut from the Generation 1 Pokedex, but the Generation 2 Pokedex as well. As I have talked about numerous times on this channel, there are a bunch of beta Pokemon we have recently learned about in the past few months, and one of the most popular ones are two Lion, Lightning, Tiger type of Pokemon known as Kotora and Raitora. These two Pokemon were first learned about in the Pokedex for the Gold and Silver beta demo from Space World 1997, and when the fanbase learned about them, there was an immediate outcry as to why the heck these two amazing Pokemon designs would have been cut from the final game. So that fact alone was already a big enough shame in and of itself, but several months later, we would actually come to find out that these two Pokemon were also considered for the Generation 1 games as well, and were also cut from the Pokedex of those games as well. A few months ago, when a bunch of cut beta Pokemon were discovered from the remnants of Pokemon Red and Green, Kotora and Raitora, previously known from the Gen 2 beta, were found as well, but it goes a bit deeper because in the Generation 1 days, these guys also had an additional evolution after Raitora as well that was just cut altogether from Gen 1 and didn't even make it into Gen 2. So the fact that these Pokemon were as great as they were even from a beta stage of development and got cut from not only one generation of Pokemon but two and have not been revived in any subsequent Pokedex since is honestly a huge shame because these guys are adorable and would have been a fan favorite had they actually made it into either Red and Green or Gold and Silver. I am pretty sure, however, that their designs ended up being reworked into the final design of Raikou, given the fact that they are both electric tiger type Pokemon, and Raikou even has a similar name to Raitora, but I still would have loved to have seen these guys make the final games in the form that we see them in the beta, because like I said, they're absolutely adorable. Up next is yet another thing from Generation 7, so it kinda seems like Game Freak has been letting us down lately, but that would be the fact that walking and following Pokemon were cut from Sun and Moon, but their animations were still made and found within the data of the games themselves. Now, this is another one you guys have probably heard about before, but to give you the brief overview, walking and running animations for every single Pokemon were actually found within the data of Sun and Moon, suggesting that Pokemon following behind you, like we later saw in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, were planned for these games, but it was eventually cut for some reason. Now, my personal guess as to why this was cut is probably due to the fact that it would have added one more dynamic animated model onto the screen, and given that these games were on the 3DS, that was probably just a little too much for the 3DS to handle, given the fact that Sun and Moon already pushed it to the limit anyway, but even still, the fact that the animations were completely made for 800 plus Pokemon but went unused is an absolute travesty. Now, honestly, this could have been what allowed Game Freak to put following Pokemon in Let's Go, which was obviously great, but the reason why this is such a shame outside of the fact it would have been great to have in Sun and Moon as well, is the simple fact that walking and running animations had to be made for over 800 Pokemon. That's over 800 models walking and running that had to be made that went completely unused, and I don't know a whole lot about 3D modeling, but I do know it takes a lot of time, so this was a ton of time on Game Freak's part that just went completely wasted altogether, which is really a shame, and honestly, it's part of the reason why I really want to see following Pokemon in Sword and Shield, because they obviously have the models for every Pokemon minus the Galar Pokemon, and it would make this even more of a shame if they all just continued to go completely unused. And finally, we actually have something from the most recent Pokemon game, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and that's the fact that there was no final battle with Professor Oak that would reference the cut battle with Professor Oak from Pokemon Red and Blue. Now, normally this would be a personal disappointment as opposed to a huge shame, but the thing that makes it a huge shame is the fact that Game Freak directly referenced this battle in Let's Go, held it out right in front of us like it was going to happen, but then snatched it away right in front of our eyes and literally trolled us all. This is because once you defeat Lance in the Let's Go games, he'll reference that you have one more trainer to face before you become Pokemon League champion, and that's when Professor Oak actually enters the room, which obviously is kind of insinuating that he could be the last person to battle, and then later he straight up says that he is the final challenger before retracting his statement and saying that he was just kidding. Now, even though they tried to make it seem like this statement was made in jest, they 100% intended to make it seem like Professor Oak was the final battle you had to face before becoming champion, even if it was for all of 30 seconds. So the reason why the lack of a Professor Oak battle in Let's Go is such a shame is because not only were they aware that we know of that cut final battle by putting this moment in the game, they literally trolled us by putting this moment in, holding it out, making it seem like that was going to be the case and we were about to have this amazing reference, but then they stole it away and they gave us a battle with Trace instead. Now, normally when video game developers troll their audience like this, it's all in a bit of good fun, but I gotta be honest with you guys. I feel personally attacked with this one because it just adds insult to injury to not only not have this battle in the game, but for them to acknowledge its existence, put it out there like it's going to happen, and then rip away all of our hopes and dreams in the span of about 30 seconds. And there we have it, everybody. Those are what I believe are 5 of the biggest shames in Pokemon. Now, it'll be up to you guys to decide which is the biggest shame of them all, but honestly, all 5 of these are a tragedy because they all could have been so much better than they ended up in the final product. If you guys enjoyed the video though, be sure to give it a like, and once again, let me know down in the comments below which one of these you believe is the biggest shame in Pokemon, or if there was another one I didn't mention in the video as well that you'd like to share. If you guys are new to the channel as well, be sure to subscribe for more new Pokemon content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and if you'd like to support the channel further outside of just watching videos, be sure to check me out on Spotify, give me a follow there, listen to some of my remixes, and that directly supports the channel here, and it's greatly, greatly appreciated. With all that being said though, I will be back on Tuesday for another video, so be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified as soon as it goes live, and with all that being said, I hope you know I love you guys, and as always, I'll smell you guys later.